Okay. So now we will start with what is called the mindfulness, but using the Vedantic approach. So how do we do this aspect of Vedantic mindfulness practice? Is in this aspect of the Vedantic mindfulness practice, what we are going to be doing is trying to become aware of the feelings itself or the mental state itself. So the one of the most strongest way of practice, if there is any kind of practice in Vedanta, is to be in that Sakshi Bhava. That Sakshi is that awareness, that Chaitanya itself. So this aspect, however, makes the practice more just staying with consciousness itself, So when we look at this from the Vipassana or the mindfulness practice, that because that nature of consciousness is not explained so much in Vipassana, sometimes, people don't use this as a part of their practice. So watching the feelings or the mental state becomes a very difficult practice for many people because they're not able to stay with that awareness, that sakshi, because they are not even introduced to that sakshi there. They're just trying to become aware of that feelings, and then it's a very, very difficult practice, and especially if you're having painful feelings, negative feelings, it's a very difficult thing. But what we will do is we will not even go to that deep of that watching that feelings. We will watch just that state of mind constantly having this likes and dislikes. So this is what, one of the main practices of Vipassana is constantly being aware of likes and dislikes, which in our Vedanta language, we call it Raga Dvesha. That being aware of that Raga Dvesha. So if you really observe, the Raga Dvesha is not just like only when it is at extreme. Every moment that likes and dislikes, that mental commentary of likes and dislikes is going on in our mind. So we have, body has an discomfort posture. So there is a dislike there, and you feel comfortable at one point, like even just like, okay, when you finish meditation, just relaxing, that's like comfortable, So there is a sense of liking that arises. So this kind of sense of liking and disliking, which is happening at a very subtle level at almost every moment in our mind. How to become aware of this? So this is where we are going to work with directly watching the mind itself. But yet we need an object. We need an object to start with. And this object could be what we have been doing, like being aware of the abdomen or just the breathing, or something natural we will take, like the movement of the abdomen, movement of the breath. Or you can just become aware of like some object that is in front of you, just some object. So here, what is one point to notice, that in general meditation, this is the object, right? So the meditation we were doing as before, in order to prepare the mind, there we were just aware of the object, whether it was the mantra you were focusing on or the breath or whatever, so that object was the focus. But in this kind of mindfulness practice, we are aware of that mind which is watching. So the mind which is watching that object, the mind becomes the object of our practice. And what is the nature of the mind? The nature of the mind is not still. Unlike the object is still, the mind was moving. So now we are trying to watch that moving mind. Okay, so usually see what happens in meditation is that object we take is still, and the idea is that by using that if my hand is that representation of the mind, So that mind watching that object will become still, because the nature of the mind is always moving. So the yogic meditation and all, what we do is we try to slowly still the mind by watching that object, until the subject object become like unified in that stillness. Here it's different. We use the object, but we don't try to still the mind. The mind can keep moving, but you stay with that awareness of that. How can we stay with that awareness? One is what Vipassana says. You just become aware that this mind is constantly moving. And what is constant is the moving itself, in that sense. So you just try to become aware of that. And how do you become aware? So if you notice, it's very hard to watch thoughts. The thoughts watching is a very difficult process. So you try to shift to just a sense of labeling, starting with a very simple thing. What is my mind state right now? How am I feeling? So here what we have, we're not watching the thoughts, not watching every single thought. Like I heard a sound of a bird, that is a thought, or I thought about what I will do after the class. So all these are thoughts. We are not doing that. What we are going to practice, or what we're going to focus on, is that sense of like and dislikes that's arising every moment, no matter what is the subject, what is the object. Like the object could be, I don't like the sound which some neighbors, that is not the focus. I don't like is the focus. And if something comes up, like there is some pleasant breeze of wind, the breeze of wind is not the focus, but that feeling, that sensation that, oh, I like this nice breeze of wind. So that is the focus, being aware of that. So this kind of practice we can do anywhere. We don't have to keep our eyes closed also. And especially if you're sitting out somewhere also, you can do it. But you are switching from watching that object to the mind. So slowly that object you have to drop and just be with the mind and open, become open. So then what happens is, after a while, the mind, gets more restless, because it is not used to just being with the mind. So here we use the Vedantic thing, where we start and rest every now and then in this thing called beingness, awareness, consciousness. How do we get to know that? We will not get to know it like an objective way, but we will get to, those of us who have done a little bit of Shravanam, we realize this is an awareness which is the source of even my attention, my focus. So we are gently trying to shift back to that source every now and then. But we don't try to just focus on the source like how we do in Vedantic Nididhyasana. We are not doing that here. We are just gently resting in that, and then just trying to watch the mind. Rest, watch the mind. So just 10 minutes we will practice. Don't do too long also in the initial stages, because this is not a practice that everyone will get it right away. But with practice, you will get it. Okay. So let us try. So again, first a few deep breaths. So now just take some simple thing. You can, if you want, initially kind of close your eyes and focus on your natural breathing, or the sensation of the movement of abdomen, or the sensation of the breath touching the nostril. And now just shift back to just being in that beingness, that awareness itself. That natural awareness that is aware of the movement of the breath. Awareness that is aware of the sensation of the abdomen also. Now, from that awareness, we try to become just aware of the mental state every moment. So just you can start by asking, how are you feeling now? There might be a sense of positive feeling or a sense of boredom, which is a negative feeling, or a sense of some sadness that is also a dislike feeling, we can say, a feeling of dislike. Or you might be feeling good. It is a holiday today, maybe for some. So you might be looking forward for that day. So there might be a sense of liking. So just acknowledge that and don't focus on that. Just acknowledge and then rest back in your awareness and open up to whatever comes, whatever experience comes. Just open up. And when you notice something, some state of feeling, some sense of like, just acknowledge that. Don't let anything slip. So remember, here we are not focusing on the object, such as breath. That is not the main focus, rather. The main focus is the mind, the feeling of like and dislike that is arising in the mind. You can also ask yourself, how am I feeling physically? So if you're feeling some discomfort with the body, then there is a sense of dislike. But if you're feeling okay with the body, there's good energy in the body, then there's a sense of like. How am I feeling, like just environmental wise? If there is noise in your environment, then there's a sense of dislike. But if it's quiet, nice, pleasant environment, a sense of like is there. So you can gently also open your eyes and just become aware of your immediate environment also. And see what kind of impact it has on your mind. And with open eyes also, you can rest in that beingness. That simple sense of I amness, that simple feeling of awareness. And this awareness is pure. It is not tainted by the experience. Meaning it is not moving like the mind. It is just resting in its natural witness state. And here, when you rest in it, you feel somewhat energized, because this Sakshi, this awareness is who we are in our true nature. It is that deep state of this awareness we dive into in sleep at night. But yet, we are not just kind of doing like diving into it like in meditation again. We are just trying to stay in that and then become aware of the mind again. And now just for a minute, give permission for your mind to do whatever it wants to do. Think of whatever it wants to do. And just stay as observer. Let it do what it wants to do, but you just remain as an observer. And note the commentary such as like and dislike only. Don't note the commentary in terms of its content. Note its commentaries in the labels of like and dislikes. Shobana, Ashobana. Feeling pleasant, feeling unpleasant. Let it think of whatever it wants to think, the past, the future. Check every now and then, how am I feeling? Am I feeling pleasant, unpleasant? The experience I'm having now. So don't get lost in that experience. This is mindfulness. If you're feeling you're lost in the experience, then you have to come to object focus, such as the movement of abdomen or watching the breath. But if you feel that you can watch, then watch. Or if you can, you shift back to just resting in that beingness. This is where all the Vedanta listening will help us. That I am that pure consciousness. Nothing that happens in my life, no thoughts, no feelings, no experience can touch me. So we shift back to that for a while. And once you feel rested, try one last time. And again, I encourage you to try with open eyes and see how you feel, the experience of your immediate environment, what kind of feelings it evokes. So here we are not only trying to hold on to pleasant feelings, unlike meditations, here we are trying to catch also the unpleasant feelings. We want actually the unpleasant feelings. This is the best way to emotionally process them. You stay with them, you let them come, but you don't get sucked with them. All right, now just rest with that beingness again, that sense of I amness, that sense of awareness. If not, you can just mentally rest in that mental feeling of Om. No need to chant that Om. Just feel that you're resting in that sense of Om, which pervades everything, the essence of your being. Om.